this right, there's very little else that we can do as an agency well. And so this is one of our top priorities. It certainly is in our field office. In fact, we have two separate squads, one in DC and one in Northern Virginia, that address civil rights violations. Our work, in essence, is two-faceted. We focus on hate crimes and we focus on excessive force violations. As you know, with the advent of social media, a threat is a keyboard click away, and lots of folks think they can hide behind a keyboard, they can hide behind an email, and threaten all of us. I will tell you that we take those just as seriously as any physical assault or any other hate crime that is more serious. We will find these folks and we will bring them to justice, regardless of whether it's an email or if it's a real assault or something worse. Secondly, on the color of law side, our work has increased exponentially, I hate to say, in this arena. That is both good and bad. That is good because I think people are realizing how serious an issue this is. It is bad because we have all of this work to do when it comes to policing in our community. This is another violation that is incredibly challenging. It involves harm to other human beings very often, and sometimes it involves death, as you all know. And because of that, we work very, very hard to bringing justice to the victims. One important component of what we do is all of you. If we don't learn about color of law violations, whether it's an excessive force violation, whether it's an assault, whether it's a hate crime, there's little we can do, which is why we engage with you on an active, ongoing basis. I always measure the success with another organization through the communication that we have, meaning the real and active communication. And I will tell you that at least Julius and I in the past several months, and I think Julius can attest to this, we're a phone call away. And he has questions for me about issues like the Arlington County death in the jail and other issues that have come up that he feels comfortable enough to pick up the phone. And I the same, feel comfortable asking him for help. Likewise, ask for your help. If you are a victim to a hate crime, to a color of law violation, if you're not comfortable talking to us or law enforcement, talk to Julius, talk to Kent, talk to your other leadership. And we have an active dialogue with them and they can share this information with us. And so I would encourage all of you to do that. At the end, I'm happy to answer any questions. We'll stick around for the rest of the meeting. And again, I thank you all for having us here on your very first 2021 meeting.
To the extent possible, can you just speak a little bit about what's going on post-insurrection? So, you know, we're only a stone throw away, right? But just some of the things that perhaps your team is being involved in on the unclass side. But, you know, we've seen the, you know, most wanted posters and things like, you know, but what is it that we can do in the community? Just talk a little bit about that and where the FBI is headed. I know there's a lot of sensitive information behind it, but to the extent possible.
Sure, I can do that. You can imagine when I say our entire field office is engaged in this investigation, I mean our entire field office is engaged in this investigation. It is probably an unprecedented case for us in the sense that we have a breach of one of our most hallowed places in this city. So we, of course, are working with our law enforcement partners to first and foremost address those who went into the Capitol to cause harm to others, whether it is harm to other police officers, harm to our elected officials, or to engage in property damage. As you can imagine, we're very focused on those folks. We're also very focused on, as you know, there was lots of media presence. Many of these journalists, reporters, photographers, videographers were attacked. And some of these attacks were actually very violent. And so we're focused on that facet. They're essentially protecting our First Amendment rights. So we are taking that portion of the case very, very seriously. As I'm sure you've seen in the news, we've charged, arrested many, many people across the country We have most of the individuals involved in this are elsewhere now. They're no longer here in this area. So we're working with our other field offices to, once charges are brought, to arrest these people. We're also focused on determining whether there was a greater conspiracy. And so we're looking at that. We will be at this for a long time. I will also add that as part of our work, particularly with my squad and my sister squad, if there were, we just talked about color of law violations, if there were police officers who abuse their authority in whether it's with protesters on the street or with individuals inside the Capitol, we're also looking at those allegations. We haven't seen many of those at this point, thankfully, but that's in a nutshell how we're engaged with this crisis.
Thanks. There is one question in the box, and that I just want to remember when you came by about 2 years ago, we had some concerns that were raised, and what the FBI was doing was more reactive. That was the feeling, and not very proactive as it relates to civil rights. So the question is, has the Washington Field Office implemented any programs to prevent civil rights from being violated? Now, I do understand, we've talked, I know how the Civil Rights Division has kind of like been gutted, or was gutted for a little bit. But can you talk to us a little bit about what has changed since the last time you visited with us as it relates to programs to prevent civil rights from being violated, if any?
Yeah, so to your point about the Civil Rights Division being gutted, I will tell you, I am always heartened by the career professionals at the Department of Justice. These are folks who have been working civil rights violations for a very, very long time. Those folks haven't gone away. We work with them very, very closely on a daily basis. If we get an indication of a hate crime, they're the first person I call to determine how we proceed. If it's a color of law violation, I talk to those very same people. As far as programs, Julius, on how to address, I'm looking at the question here as far as radicalization within law enforcement, radicalization within the military. While this is something that is now gaining some media traction, this is not a new concept. This is something that we have been looking at on an ongoing basis for many years. I think one could argue that it's increasing and that we're seeing much more of it. And so we're very, very focused on not only addressing the actual violations, but also engaging. I'll use the model of engaging with police departments in the area. It's one thing to investigate the cases. It's another to engage with the leadership and say, why are we having these issues with the police departments? We as the FBI, whether we're talking about radicalization within a law enforcement agency, radicalization within a military organization, whatever, we have a unique perspective when it comes to color of law violations because we see patterns. We see patterns not only locally, but across the country. And I will tell you what the patterns point to are leadership issues within these agencies many times, not always, but many times. There are always a few bad apples who sneak through, but many times when we see this, it's leadership issues. And so shame on us if we just focus on the violations and we don't engage with the leadership to say, these are the pervasive problems we see. This is how you can fix them. And so many departments have allowed us in to do some training, not just with the leadership, but also with the membership. To answer the question more directly about radicalization, if there are violations, if there are people within certain departments that are being radicalized and we hear about this, we communicate that immediately to these departments so they can address it. Many departments in this area have strong internal affairs components, and they will usually act very quickly to remove these individuals from the roles, particularly if they haven't engaged in any criminal violations. I know there are a few more questions.
Yeah.
Julius, did you want?
Yeah, but we're glad to have you. I mean, you can see right there. You can stick around if you want to. I know we have about 3 minutes left. Not sure if you want to allow Mike a few words, and then
please,
members just to introduce themselves real quick. Mike.
I think Mike wants to say a few words about the community outreach program.
Okay. Mike,
office.
You have about 2.5 minutes. Go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry.
Yes, sir. No worries. Yeah, I just wanted to talk a little bit about our structured community outreach programs, upcoming, our big structured programs we have. mostly catered to, we have work in the elementary schools with our junior special agent program. A lot of that has been suspended because of COVID, obviously not going into the schools. We will be hosting our teen academy. We call it Future Agents in Training the first week of August. If anyone has any 16 to 18-year-old kids, with pretty good grades and maybe an interest in a career in federal law enforcement. We also have, for any of you or any of your colleagues, that will be interested in our Citizens Academy. We'll be hosting that this May and June on 6 consecutive Thursday nights. Again, it's really neat. It'll be in a virtual format this year, but it's something that really helps us kind of extend our olive branch into the community and really build relationships and forward those. I know some of you have attended that before. We give a lot of recruiting presentations. One of the things that we don't have time to go into it too much now, but we're really focusing on diversity, especially with female applicants and minority applicants. And it's something that we're really struggling to hit the mark on, especially with coming up with creative ways to reach out, whether it's historically Black universities or whether it's we just did an all-female conference, to really hit those numbers. So again, we can better represent the communities that we serve. So we're open to any suggestions with that in terms of coming back and maybe giving a hiring or a recruiting presentation. I know we have 19 open jobs on USA Jobs or FBI Jobs right now that are open to all US citizens. I would encourage you guys to check that out. And then just for anything else, our FBI.gov contact us website, go to Washington, DC, community outreach tab there has a list of all of our programs, as well as an application for any of those structured outreach efforts I just talked about, such as Citizens Academy.
That's great, Mike. Do you want to introduce any of your other team members that are on? Do they want to show the face, or they're good?
I'd love to. I think with us, I have my recruiter, Jeffrey Reyes.
Where you at, Jeff?
How you guys doing? Can you see me?
We spotlight. We can see you now. All right.
Yeah, it's my first time attending, so thanks for having us. Like Mike said, I'm the full-time recruiter here, and as we've already touched on, I'm only going to take a minute here. Diversity is very high on my list of targeting applicants. As you know, our core values, we have fidelity, bravery, integrity. Diversity is in there among those. I feel our strength lies within our diversity. So if you have any events that you guys are aware of that you think we might be able to partner with, please reach out. As Mike said, let us. And I saw a question come up for anything for college or college-age adults. We do have something. It's called the College Hiring Initiative for college folks and also for high school. I know we have the Arlington public schools on here as well. We do have a high school honors internship program for our high school students. And I know we don't have time, but we can touch more on those next time we meet. So honors internship program for high school and college hiring initiative for college students.
Yeah, Special Agent Reyes, if you could take that last question down, how many minorities, and kind of follow up with me, just shoot that to me so I can share that later. Okay.
I will get back to you. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Who else do you have, Mike?
I should have a few of my community outreach specialists, Sharnita Morris.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having us.
Okay, Sharnita. Anyone else?
Nicole Mines.
Good evening, everyone. We thank you for allowing us this time to get together and talk and try to strategize as we move forward, collectively just trying to work to better our community. So thank you all so much.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Mike?
Rebecca Rabbits.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having us, and thanks for everything that you do.
Thank
and
you.
I think, Lisa Combs was the last one.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having us.
Hi, Lisa. All right, Lisa. You brought the entire debt, Mike.
Here for you, sir. We're here for you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're I like to stay on time, but Mike, we'll have you back. You and the team. You and I will engage. We'll probably bring you back with the executive committee at some point in time so we can do some deep diving, a little bit more. Peel the onion back, get in the weeds on some of these policies and issues that you've been working on, as well as, and we need to get the assistant deputy back one of these days as well. Okay, thank you to the Washington field office. Hey, everyone, let's give them a little round of applause if we don't mind. virtually. Okay, we're going to pivot real quick. And I've been knowing this gentleman for a couple of years now. He is the chair of the Arlington County Board. No one else other than the Honorable, where is he at? Matt DeFerrante. Where is Matt on the call?
I sure am.
Here we go. Here we go. I'm going to get you spotlighted here. Well, you know me, Matt. I try to stay on time. I'm about 3 minutes over, but we have some time with you. I think, you know, to the extent possible, you're going to be meeting with the executive committee in a few days here. But for the time we have you tonight, I think COVID, of course, is very important to everyone. I know you just came out of a meeting this past Saturday. You know, food insecurity is also an issue, housing, the full gamut. And we've shared your priorities in your organizational speech from January 4th. But the time that you're with us tonight, just tell us what you think we need to know right now. But I will tell you, for the most part, people want to know how we're going to get through COVID, right? And what's going on with vaccinations, right? It seems like we're missing the mark, but I know you're going to lead us. So let us know a little something. Talk to us. And welcome.
Sure.
Welcome home.
Thank you. Thank you, Julius. And thanks for the opportunity to be with you and just share a few thoughts. So first and foremost, on COVID vaccinations, I've been trying to communicate via social media. In addition, we've sent out an email. I've sent out an email today. There's a lot of ways in which we need to communicate following last Thursday and Friday and the cancellation by Virginia Hospital Center. Basically, I think most on the call will know that there was a time about 2 weeks ago when the federal government thought it would have a whole set of supply that it was going to provide to the states. The amount of doses of vaccine have been low at every stage. So that's one thing that many know. What happened last Thursday and Friday is the state changed the way that it is providing vaccines to the 35 hospital districts, the 35 health districts in the state of Virginia. And as a result, they're going to be sending their vaccines directly to our public health department, because Arlington is one of those 35 health districts. All the vaccines are going to come to our public health department, and they're not going to go for first doses. They're not going to go to Virginia Hospital Center. So we still and do partner with Virginia Hospital Center, but since we're getting the doses, they had people signed up, different groups within 1B, and they said, look, we're not going to receive the doses anymore. We can't continue with first doses. That is obviously frustrating for those who are already signed up, and certainly a source of concern. We've been working hard since then. We have received the list. We are calling through the list of those who signed up. Those over 75 who are Arlington residents will all be contacted within the coming days to week, or it could be a couple days more than a week, but not more than 10 days for that group. There are a number of people signed up. There are 3,000 Arlington residents that we're working through in that group. And then there's some others who are signed up who we'll also be getting back in touch with. A few of you probably of the 133 who are here may know that we also have been trying to vaccinate those who work in Arlington for our public school system. But we're focused on trying to provide vaccines for Arlington residents. And so there are a few in the group who signed up through Virginia Hospital Center who are not Arlington residents. There's nothing against them, but we're focusing our vaccines going forward on Arlington residents and those who work in Arlington for organizations that have contacted us and pre-registered through Arlington County's website. So a few of you also may have seen that Virginia Hospital Center is not the only hospital in the region who is doing that. Earlier today, Inova canceled its first doses going forward. So we are not unique. We get a dashboard every week, and Arlington is right now at about 5.1% of Arlingtonians over 16 who have received their first dose. If you watched the meeting this past weekend, of the first doses of vaccine that the Arlington County has received, 89% have been administered, have been in people's arms. So we are working hard to make sure that you get the vaccine as fast as possible. That doesn't mean it's been smooth. You can imagine I've received a ton of emails, as have my colleagues, but there's no other priority as crucial right now as getting the vaccine out to as many people as possible who are most in need. And if you look at the statistics on cases and fatalities, those over 75 are at great risk. And I know that you've talked, Julius, and I've looked at the data, and we will continue to talk about the disproportionate impact on our Black community in terms of fatalities, particularly. Our Latino community has a high number of cases relative to population. And our Black community has significantly more fatalities relative to the percentage of Arlington that is African American. So that is concerning. I am not here to claim that we have addressed the health inequities that we must. And I feel an urgency and a responsibility to do that. So that's and there are steps that we have taken and will need to take going forward to address it. Our testing facilities have been focused on 22204, which is larger African American and Latino, and we need to continue that as we work towards the doses of vaccine. We know what is at stake, and this is what's been occupying really all weekend. And before that, it's a big focus of both county staff, and you can imagine we are and feel accountable and responsible to you with respect to vaccine distribution. I'll address overall supply of vaccines. You may have seen last week, Arlington County received 1,400. And next week, I think it would be either today or tomorrow is actually when they arrive, we'll be receiving 2,700 or 2,750 is the exact amount. Overall, because last week we had received, or the previous 4 or 5 weeks, we received vaccine both for Virginia Hospital Center that went out through at Walter Reed and also through the Department of Public Health. It's about even, a slight decrease. We had been receiving about 3,000 on average, and now we're receiving about 2,750 on average going forward for this week, next week, and we believe at least one more week after that. That all led me to sign on to a regional letter to the governor asking for more vaccines. It's not the first occasion I've been on the phone with the governor's chief of staff and been pushing for more vaccines. We know it's urgent and we know what is at stake. As a state, we only received this past week 105,000 doses. That's just not enough. So we're not the only community that is not receiving as many doses as we need. It is still true that we have the capacity to administer 14,000 doses, but we are just not receiving as many doses as we would like. It is medically and scientifically a huge step that we got the vaccines quickly. We need more to be approved once they're scientifically validated, and we need more total vaccines. And we will be pushing over the coming days and week in a couple of specific steps for more vaccines. So that's sort of an update, fairly detailed on vaccine distribution and health. I'll briefly touch on the other areas that are priorities. They're really focused on issues that I believe are linked to building systemic racial and economic equity. And those are eviction prevention and hunger response. Most will know that this board has been made eviction prevention a big priority, big step. New president, President Biden, took a step to extend the moratorium on evictions. He also took some steps on hunger. So it's good to finally have a federal partner that we can work with. We as a board have we've helped over 3,000 households and put a total as of January 2nd of 7.2 million into eviction prevention and rent relief. So that's a step we've taken. Hunger response is, I think many on the call will know, that is the priority that's systemically over the course of the full year. I really will want to work on. I anticipate these first 6 months really to be about stabilizing our health and stabilizing our community. And the next 6 months, I hope to work more in those last 6 months of this year on hunger response. We're building a working group. The bottom line is that for many of our residents, we haven't had the systems to work to prevent hunger and food insecurity. And that is disproportionately impacting Arlingtonians of color. If you look at the statistics of income, and also if you have conversation and engage in conversation with AFAC and other food hunger response organizations and groups. We also need to work on recovery. Our schools are a critical priority. It's been a priority in vaccine distribution, but reopening our schools is an equity issue, and we face a gap that is the result of the last year without schools. For our 8,000 students who are below the free and reduced lunch line, income line, we have work to do and investment to make in their educational futures that needs to be disproportionate from an equity standpoint. So we're investing the resources, and that is a priority of mine. So economic recovery also is key. We have done some investments there. And certainly I would urge folks to shop local if you can. Certainly our restaurants need our support now as much as ever. So I'll close on that. I mean, I think as far as building systemic equity, I've been a strong supporter of Samia Bird's work. We need to continue to put resources, and in every decision, we need to be considering who benefits, whose burden, who's missing, and what are we going to do about it? And so that's true about all of our decisions. And it's true about certainly in my view that we need additional missing middle housing types, which is housing affordability, distinct value that's critical in addition to affordable housing, which is a continued priority of mine. So I'll stop there. I don't know how you want to handle it, Julius, as far as questions. I hope I touched on topics that matter to all the fellow members out there.
Well, thanks, Matt, for, I know we were limited and we're going to have some, hour with you on Wednesday, but as I look here in the feed, I'm going to, we have a member of our education committee that had a couple of questions. So I'm going to ask her just to unmute. We do have about 3 minutes. So Ms. Kearns, do you want to ask Matt a question directly?
No, Matt and I spoke recently, so okay. I would like to leave this open for people who may not have had an opportunity.
Yeah. Right. So if we have any of our attendees who would like to ask the chair a question, this is your opportunity. Just come off mute and feel free to ask a question.
Yes, I'd like to ask a question in terms of.
Okay, you're Jesse Porter.
That's correct.
You live in Arlington here?
Yes, sir.
Okay, go ahead, Jesse.
Yeah, I called the health department the other day to register and was told everything had to be done online. And my question is, what about people who are blind or people who are not computer literate or don't have access to internet access, how can they register for the vaccine?
Thank you, Mr. Porter, for the question. I've been particularly worried about not all seniors, but some who are older than 75 who may not be, or and any age really. It's a critical issue. The first thing folks should do is call. First, I'm sorry that you had that experience on the phone, and that concerns me. But the thing to do would be, and it's particularly true now, is to call 703-228-7999. And that number is how we've been seeking to help people, particularly because we need to contact everyone who's over 75 who registered through Virginia Hospital Center. So the phone, we are doing right at 1,200 phone calls to reach out to individuals who might have had an appointment and they're over 75, and are Arlington residents, but no longer do. So that phone number is where to call. And then I guess I will also, I'll just say this, because you had, if you had difficulty with our phone system before, if there's any problem, call this number and leave a message, or ask for our aides to leave a message for me personally. It's 703-228-3130. I won't give you my email because my last name is too many letters, or plenty of letters, but I will say, first, if you're able, start with 703-228-7999. If you have any difficulty, Mr. Porter, please call me and leave a message, and I will get back to you at 703-228-3130.
Thank you so very much. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Thank you, Matt. And we look forward to our meeting in about 48 hours. We will send you some questions in advance, not too much, but we look forward to the conversation because, as you are aware, and we are as well, there's a host of issues that need to be addressed here in Arlington. So thank you for taking time out of what I assume is a very busy schedule and being with us again tonight. And I believe there's also another member of the county board on, Takas Karandonis. Are you? I thought I saw him. I don't want to miss anyone, our elected leaders. Takas, are you here? Okay. All right. Okay, so.
Thank you. I'll stay to listen.
Okay. So Gabrielle, are you ready? You have everything set? So you can go and get that set up, Gabrielle. Next, we have our chair of the Arlington Public Schools, the Honorable Monique O'Grady. So Monique has joined with us tonight, and she has as well 20 minutes to talk a little bit about the school board update. We also heard not too long ago that Monique will be finishing out the year and moving on. She served us for a number of years now. We're going to miss her, right? But she's still in the seat, she's driving the bus as the chair, and we're just happy to have her with us tonight. You should have received these, everyone that registered should have received these slides in advance. So Madam Chair, I mean, if you want to skip a few slides, you may, and just go to what's important, but the floor is now yours. Thank you for being with us tonight.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, JD. I'm so happy to be here and happy to continue to serve our students and our community. And I just want to say that at my church, Our Lady Queen of Peace, just on Sunday, they announced if people are having trouble being able to access the internet, they would be happy to help as well. That church is Our Lady Queen of Peace in South Arlington as well. So we're all trying to work together to support our community. If we can go to the next slide, that would be great. I think you are all aware that we thanked Tanya Talento and Nancy Van Dorn for their service at the end of this year. And we are happy and excited to have Christina Diaz-Torres and Dave Pretty on board. And they are already jumping in with both feet. To learn more about them, you can go to our website, and we'll have you go to the next slide, please. I appreciated the presentation by our representatives from the FBI. The issue about the insurrection on the Capitol is very fresh in all of our minds, and we understand that this could be very impactful to our students, our staff, and our family. And so we do have online resources available. We have also given our teachers information and tools to help students be able to address issues and try to figure out how to come together thoughtfully when students have disagreements. And so we hope that that will help families, students, and staff who are having concerns and continue to address some anxiety and social and emotional issues over what happened at the Capitol. I know that I have some similar issues, having been a reporter for 14 years covering the Hill, and for 4 of those years for Black Entertainment Television Nightly News, and covering the CBC. It was very disheartening to see what I saw, and understanding the impact that could have on people who are watching and the people who were there. Okay, we'll go to the next slide, please. Of course, I am very proud that over the last several years, we have been moving forward with equity. We have a Chief Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Officer. We have adopted an equity policy. We've had some school system-wide equity training, and now we're putting into place equity teams at each of our schools. We had a launch of that on January the 11th. We had nearly 100 staff at our elementary and secondary level attend. These division-wide equity teams will meet monthly, and they will be working on ensuring that decisions that are made at the school level are incorporating equity and diverse voices in on all that we do. So we have a lot of leadership. Of course, you all know Dr. Duran, our newer superintendent, was in charge of equity in Fairfax and had also been in charge of academics. But this is a way to make sure that equity pushes down into each of our schools so that the desires that we want to see when it comes to equity are being felt in all of our schools at the school level. We'll go to the next slide, please. Of course, we're all very concerned about what's happening with the pandemic. And if you look at this infographic, you can look at all the different things that we are weighing when we try to determine when we're going to go back to school in person. It's our operational metrics like air quality, PPE, other things, and the mitigation measures that we're putting in place. We're trying to balance our staff needs with our family needs, and also the concerns about how this virtual learning is impacting our students and their ability to learn, and also weighing that with their mental health challenges. So we have a lot that we are dealing with as we try to determine how to move back to school in person. Next slide, please. And some of the things that we want to make sure that you understand is that we're looking at the way that we transition our students back into our buildings. We're doing so gradually so that we can make sure that we're being safe and that we can prioritize students based on their needs and their educational needs. We're also looking at our best practices and effective mitigations during level 1. Level 1 is the level we're in right now, and that is the ability for us to bring in our students who really need in-person learning. Some of our students with the most challenging special needs who actually need to have someone with them in order to learn. They have been in our building since early November. We're taking a look at how those how that is going, and so that we can move forward on those best practices as we bring more students back into the building. We are also working on providing our employees any sort of accommodations that we can need that are based on risk factors that are designed by the Centers for Disease Control. That our employees will be able to take advantage of an extension that we've put in place of the Expired Families First Coronavirus Act measures, and that will provide them emergency paid sick leave through April 15th for eligible employees. And those eligible employees will include people who've tested positive or have been designated as a close contact or are developing symptoms that may be COVID, signs of COVID. And so we are working also to bring our students back in a time frame that will not impact their educational transition. So we're just finishing out our second quarter. And so we're going to be looking at how to make sure that those transitions potentially try to align with transitions with the quarters. We'll go to the next slide, please. So as I mentioned, our students in level 1 have been back in the building since November the 4th. Next Tuesday, we will return some of our career and technical ed students back to classrooms. And those are students who really need the hands-on learning. Our auto tech students, our cosmetology students, some of those students who are taking classes where they actually also may need to earn a certificate. And so we will be bringing back some of those students starting next Tuesday. The next level for return would be our students who are in pre-K through kindergarten, and then grades 1 through 2, and then the phase 3 level. For level 2 will be grades 3 through 5. When we have not determined the time to bring those students back just yet. And then following that, we'll be looking at our secondary students, our 6 through 12 students, and we will communicate when they will be coming back in their phases at a later date. We'll go to the next slide. As you all know, the distance learning is not the best way for students to be learning, but we are doing our best to ensure that our teachers are meeting the needs as well as best they can. And we are taking a look at the impact that virtual learning is having on our students. We have taken a look at our first quarter grades for our secondary students, and we've broken that information into subcategories that you can see there on the slide. What we found is that we did see an overall 1% increase of students who earned an E in the first quarter compared to last year for our high school students, and a 1.4% increase for our middle school students who earned E's in the first quarter compared to last year. We'll go to the next slide and I'll tell you a little bit more about that. So for our middle schoolers, we're now seeing that about 2.1% of those students earned E's in the first quarter this year, and that 5.4% of our high schoolers received E's. Now, this may not seem, the 1% or 1.4% increase may not seem like a lot, but unfortunately, when we dig deeper into the data, it's very troubling. Our students who are in specific racial, ethnic, and students with disability subcategories are really feeling the impact. So our students with disabilities saw a 6.2% increase. Our English learners saw an 11% increase. And the highest level of students who were falling behind were our Black English learners at 7% and our Hispanic English learners. And their increase was, I'm having a little trouble seeing it because that part of the slide is covered for me, but you can see it there on the slide. Okay, 15%. Okay, can I have the next slide, please? So you're probably wondering what we are doing, and we know that we must do more to meet those students' needs, and we are. We are providing a virtual workspace for students at many of our high schools so that if they're having problems with logging on or they need a quiet place, then they can come into the buildings to access a location where they can be in a more educational setting. In addition to that, we're also looking at and have restructured our advisory periods for our English language learners at middle school so that they can receive additional supports. We're looking at open office hours. We're doing small group instruction. We're having counselor check-ins. You can see all the different steps that we're taking. We're also helping and giving our middle schoolers the opportunity to move to an elective, which will be starting with the third quarter, that will help them with their executive functioning skills as well. We'll go to the next slide. We were able to, in spite of everything that's going on, we were able to share at our last school board meeting some good news, and that our APS on graduation has increased. You can see that our on-time graduation rate is 93.4%, and some of our students of color are making gains. Our Black students and our English learners have shown gains that for on-time graduation by 4%, and our economically disadvantaged students earning an advanced diploma increased by 7.1%. Let's go to the next slide. And you can see the percentage there. We'll go to the next slide. Now I want to share with you our school board action plan. That's basically our work plan for the year. And there are many things on our plate this year, but overall, we want to try to provide an excellent education regardless of the delivery model. And we want to deliver high quality virtual or in-person instruction, whatever is being delivered. We have had a lot of training for our teachers who are going to, for teaching virtually, and we are providing additional training for teachers who will be providing in-person instruction that may include also delivering instruction to students who are virtual. I want to move on to the next slide to talk to you about some of the things on this action plan. We currently have a work group underway for APS looking at its future relationship with our school resource officers. The group has more than 40 members on it, and it's been underway since December. We recently just had a virtual community engagement session on the 13th on Saturday. There was a team building exercise, and then another meeting will happen tomorrow. The group will meet between February and May and then give the recommendations to the superintendent and the school board about the future relationship of APS and our school resource officers. This is very important work, and I'm happy that we're moving forward with it. And I believe we do have two members of the NAACP who are participating in that work, and we're looking forward to understanding and seeing the recommendations from that group. We also have a school naming or renaming processes moving forward, and that's for the new neighborhood elementary school that is located on Key Boulevard. And we are also getting ready to open a new school at the Reed site, and that will that community is looking at a new name, and we're also looking at a new name for the Key Immersion Program, which is moving to the Arlington Traditional School site. The instructional program pathways is a way for us to look at how we can continue to grow in Arlington with an eye on instruction and what our instructional needs are for our students, as opposed to just figuring out, okay, we need a building, here's what we're going to do. So we're going to put kids in that building, then we'll figure out what we're going to put in it, what the theme's going to be. And so there's an opportunity for the community to engage and gather input on draft recommendations for our instruction leading construction and that instructional program pathways. We'll go to the next slide. We are working on a capital improvement plan, which is a plan for how we spend our money to build resources for our students, to repair schools, etc. We do have a virtual work session coming up on February the 9th, if that's something that you want to clue into. We do have a policy, we have many policies in review, and at our last school board meeting, we looked at accreditation of schools, an internet policy, and also an amendment to change the way that we award verified credits so that some students who are set to graduate in January would be able to do so under rules that have been made available to allow them to have certain work counted towards graduation. And we've done those other items there as well, which includes looking at the Career Center and also a visioning for our immersion program. And we'll go to the next slide. And the newest policy that is available for comment is the Aquatics Facilities and Programs policy. I want to note that we do have a discipline policy where we have already received some comment from different groups, including the NAACP, and that will be coming up in the future. That was part of our work plan. And we can go to the next slide. We do want you to stay connected, so please feel free to sign up for our newsletters. You can phone in at our board meetings. You can visit us during our virtual open office hours, and if you want to share information with us, the Engage page is always a good way to do that. I want to thank you guys for the opportunity to speak to you, and I'm happy to answer questions if that's appropriate. I'm sorry I couldn't really follow along with all the information in the chat, so
Sure.
happy to answer.
Yeah, Gabrielle, can you go ahead and take down the screen share if you don't mind? We're going to have time for one question here. I'm going to go to Jenny Apter. Jenny, if you can come off mute and ask your question directly to the chair.
Yeah, sure. One of our education committee chairs actually asked a good question about what APS knows about minority families and their desire to return to school. We're hearing a lot about the inequities, and we all certainly have opinions about that, but I guess wondering what data APS is collecting and what things are showing about minority families, particularly their desire for their children to return to school. And I guess kind of a related question about kind of the prioritization. You mentioned one of the slides mentioned some interventions, checking in with families to see how they're doing at this time, but it mentioned that that wasn't happening at all schools. So kind of wondering how you determine the priorities for who receives those interventions so that we don't wind up with further inequities. Thank you.
Okay. So, thank you, Jenny. Let me just start off with the latter question. The latter question was about making sure that we are prioritizing what our kids' needs. Well, our counselors, our teachers, our principals, our support staff, our FACE leaders, which are people who work to directly touch our students. We're all working to try to figure out who needs what and how we can address their needs. And so we are trying to figure out needs based on, knowing each child by name and by need. And so I think that we're looking at all students. We're seeing so many different needs from so many different students who've had needs in the past, students who came to us who were struggling before the pandemic. And we do know that the pandemic has helped to, I think, roll back the veil that's over that for some folks. And so we are aware and we are working with all of our students, and we have all of our staff working to do that. So it's an individual process, student by student. And our counselors are helping us do that, our social workers, our psychologists. So all of that is happening. And then can you just remind me, Jenny, the first question just again?
Yeah, just kind of asking about the data that APS has about minority families, particularly preferences around the return to school movement, because we've heard a lot about the inequity and that being a reason for a push to return to school, but is that really lining up with what we know about minority family preferences?
Yeah. Thank you, Jenny, for that question. When we received the information from our parents about when they, whether they wanted to choose hybrid or in-person learning, we did share some data about a breakdown, and I particularly know information about our English language learners and our students who come from a more economically disadvantaged families. And so we saw about a 40 to 50% breakdown for students in those categories. And it just depends from school to school as well. And I don't have the data in particular school to school. But in some of our schools that are have students with higher levels of students who come from economically disadvantaged families, we're seeing fewer of those students want to come back. I think that's because some of our families in our community, and Matt mentioned 22204, some people are really understanding the impacts of COVID, because it's impacting them differently than it's impacting other people across the community. Some families they know people in their family who've been impacted. They may be choosing that they don't want to come back to school because they are very concerned that if their children or they get COVID, they may lose their jobs because they have to go in, they have to work. And so, we are seeing a difference in choice based on, for some families and some schools based on their economic situation, or perhaps, other differences like English language learners. And so that information is available through our presentations around November for people who want to dig deeper and get the exact information.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. I know that you will be following up. Our Education Committee actually will be following up with you.
JD,
To
can I
get
jump in
some,
real quick?
we don't, yes, Sheree, but we're going to move on.
Hi, Monique. It's Sheree.
Hey, Sharice.
I just wanted to let you know that we're going to have you to the Ed Committee. We meet for an hour and a half, so we won't have to try to compress our conversation because we really want to kind of ditch the slideshow and really get in and have some substantive conversations about what's going on in APS. So we are so looking forward to having you. We're getting ourselves organized, but you're definitely on top of the list of people that we would love to have a sit down with. So we're looking forward to it.
And I'm looking forward to having that sit down with you and being able to dig as deeply as you want to go so we can try to continue to work to make sure all of our kids get what APS can deliver, which is an excellent education.
Right, because you know that minority kids are really having a difficult time. It's being magnified and we need to work together on that.
And I want to work together with NAACP and you. So thank you for the invitation. I'm looking forward to it. Let's do it soon.
Thank you. Thank you, Monique, and we will be speaking soon. We're going to shift over to our, we're going to run through this, but as I stated at the beginning of the meeting, we do have some new chairs of our committees. I'm going to pivot and pull up political action chair. Now for the committee chairs, you have about a minute or so, make a quick introduction. You may want to put in a link, share your email address so members, people who are joining this call, if they want to attend one of your meetings. I know there was 3 meetings yesterday, but we're going to go to the Political Action Committee because the General Assembly is in session. Thank you, Delegate Patrick Hope, if you're still on. I know you were with us earlier. Go ahead, Jenny. Ms. Abrams, the floor is yours. You and Megan.
Hi, thanks, Julius. This is Megan. I'm actually going to start out first. We wanted to start by thanking Detta very much for her excellent leadership and commitment to this committee and just growing it into what it has become. So it just shows how awesome Detta is that it takes 2 of us to even try to fill her shoes. So thank you to her. Just quickly wanted to mention that the Virginia General Assembly started on January 13th, and it's a short session. It's going to last 30 days this year. One cool thing about this year is that all the committees and hearings are online. So it's very accessible. If you're interested, please go online, check them out. You can listen in for yourself. It is important to know that for us as the Arlington branch, we need to be in support of and alignment with the Virginia NAACP Political Action Committee and Virginia State Conference. And they are always in alignment with the national NAACP. So Jamie is actually going to post, and she already just did, the full legislative agenda for the Virginia NAACP. That is in the chat, but I just wanted to quickly mention their top 2 priorities for this year. So the first one is declaring systemic racism as a public health crisis. So you probably know that many studies have shown that racism leads to negative health outcomes. So that's everything from the obvious police violence and higher rates of COVID-19 deaths in the Black community to just the chronic stress of racism, negative environmental impacts, and the lack of access to healthcare and quality education and career opportunities. So declaring systemic racism as a public health crisis will open up funding as well as policy options that would not be available without that title attached to it. And then the second priority is passing a constitutional amendment that protects the right to vote. So the Virginia State Conference believes that any US citizen who is 18 years of age or older and is a resident of Virginia should have the right to vote and should have easier access to do so. So that would include the restoration of rights, as well as expanding early voting to Sundays, not just Saturdays, and also getting state funding for additional satellite locations. So again, I encourage you to check out the full legislative agenda that Jamie has posted in the chat. I will note that another cool thing this year is they have organized it by topic. So that's a great way for other committees to see what's related to your work and to really get involved. And so with that, talking about getting involved, I will turn it over to Jamie, and she's going to talk about our branch's role.
Great. Thank you, Megan. So we want to issue a call to action. We have 115 participants right here now. And the way we can all put in the greatest impact as an Arlington branch in the state legislative session is to sign up for these action alert emails. So this is new this year. It's incredibly efficient. And so if you could click through, Megan's going to drop the link in the chat. And we would love some confirmations in the chat. We would love dozens of folks to do this right now. What it does is it will then push, the legislative session is fast moving, it pivots, and the priorities change in an instant. So we'll follow the cue from our state conference. And when they want us to reach out and do a call to action on a particular topic, you can see here, these are some of the action alerts we've had so far. We'll all be ready to pivot and show our force as a thriving Arlington branch. So in the chat, if you're able to do it, just drop a quick shout out that you did it so we can see all of our movement coming together. And that's the most effective way for all of our general members to get involved in the next 30 days. Thank you, JD.
Thank you, Political Action Committee. We're going to go to Housing. Big Mike, Tim, Kellen, who wants to run this? You got about a minute and a half.
Damn.
Tim, Kellen.
Kellen, where's Kellen?
I can do it.
Go ahead, Kellen.
So we had our first meeting of 2021, which I think went really well. We talked about some housing priorities for the year and how to prioritize those. And so if people are interested in joining the Housing Committee, we would love to have you. I think we're going to tackle some really important and critical issues, and we're excited to solicit not just the views of our committee members, but those of the whole NAACP, as well as our communities of color throughout Arlington. And I'm sure everyone probably saw the letter that Julius had sent to the county board around fair housing and some of the deficiencies within the county's draft plan. So we're excited to work with the county to address that and address a lot of other disparities in housing that exist within our community and help make this a more equitable place for all people to live.
Thank you. Mike, you got anything you want to add, or we're going to go ahead, we're going to push through?
Yeah, just real quick, 10 seconds. There are, we all know the historical ramifications of like redlining and concentrating poverty. There's been some stuff that's recently happened, as recent as our most recent Housing Commission. I would encourage everyone to go back, watch that meeting. I'm trying to do all I can to learn more about it, but from what I can see, there's still some of these practices that are going on and it's being swept under the rug. Nobody's talking about it. And you know, in Arlington, we love to talk about equity. It's one of the focal points. It's on our mission statement. And it's important that we hold our elected officials accountable. So I'm working with Samia Bird. We're going to be hopping on a conversation. And then lastly, JD, if I could just recommend a book to everyone. The Color of Law is something that I recently read. I would encourage everyone on here tonight to read it as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Big Mike. Okay, we're going to move swiftly. First Vice President Kent, are you on? Criminal Justice?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, where you at? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, is the chair still on of the county board? Is Matt still on the call? I have a quick question if so.
Let's go ahead and run with what you got, Mike. We're going to have them on Wednesday anyway, Kent.
Okay, maybe Takas can answer. I was just seeing if there's any update on the Becton investigation. I know it's still ongoing. Just seeing if the county board is getting regular updates or if there's any updates that we can update the family on.
And no, the answer is no. And I'm as frustrated as everybody else. It's in the medical examiners field. I communicate very often with the Commonwealth's attorney, with the sheriff, with the county manager. It was already an issue that we have been, I mean, the county board has been informed basically after the fact, I mean, together with the press about what happened in the jail. It is the death of a person. And we were initially told that it would take like 8 to 9 weeks for a toxicological examination. Now it's, 3 by 4. It's absolutely incredible how long it is taking. I don't know. I would like to, approach everybody to really reach out to the medical examiner's office, both of Virginia and the local branch here.
Thanks, Takas. Thanks,
yeah,
Matt.
I was going to say thank you for that update, Takas. I understand the delay on the toxicology reports, but the investigation is supposed to be being conducted by the Arlington County Police Department. Do you have any updates from them on their investigation?
Yes, the last time I'm asking every 10 days, two weeks, at the very least in the last month, last 2 months, once a month. And they were waiting for that, for the medical examiner's findings, which is it's where the investigation actually has to begin. They have been doing some work, and as you know, after that they have to give the evidence to the Commonwealth's attorney. So we are as interested as you, as everybody else in the community, to get these results as soon as possible. It's absolutely incredible, and specifically for the family, almost insulting that it takes so long.
All right, Ken. Okay, thank you. And again, we'll be speaking, Ken, on Wednesday with county board officials. Keisha was with us earlier. I'm not sure if she's on. Keisha is our past secretary. We shared the membership information with you, so we're going to go through. I think Keisha may have fell off already, but you should have that data where the membership's at. We're going to move to our environment and climate justice. Gabrielle, a great meeting last night. You have about a minute and a half. Go ahead, and the floor is yours.
Everyone, we met last night and we discussed our priorities for the year. We had some new members, which was great. We also went into depth about the county's energy plan and the implementation framework that is open for comments. And so I recommend that anyone who is interested, I'm going to put my email in the chat so that you can comment yourself. And then we also talked a little bit about the forestry plan that we sent that email out maybe about a month or two ago, and appreciate all the comments that people sent in for that as well. So that's a summary of that. And so I'm going to put my email here if you're interested in asking about the energy plan, or if you'd like to join us next month for our committee meeting.
Thanks, Gabrielle. Is Reverend Davis on? I see Rosa Dunkley for chair of our religious affairs.
Yes, I'm on the line.
Hey, Pastor Davis, and welcome. The floor is yours.
Good evening, everyone. I'll leave a moment for Rosa as well to speak tonight. We're just getting started with the Religious Affairs Committee. In the chat, you should see what I placed in the chat what the Religious Affairs Committee is and what we're supposed to do. And so we welcome anyone. You can be a minister or a lay person, and it's ecumenical. So if you are interested in joining, please reach out. My email is there for you. So we're looking to have our initial meeting in February. I do want to welcome you to be a part of an endeavor that Callaway and Rock Spring UCC have started, but it is open to members of the NAACP as well. It's called Courageous Conversations, How to Be an Anti-Racist. And it is not simply for African Americans, it's for all cultures to be a part of that. We are starting that tomorrow. So you could go to our website, which is callawaychurch.org, and sign up. This is the last day to do so. Of course, it's for 6 months, and we will each fourth Tuesday of the month have a 2-hour conversation either about a book or a topic that we're dealing with here in Arlington, ranging from education to housing, criminal justice. And our closing finale is having Ibram Kendi, the author of How to Be an Anti-Racist, to be with us to share from his book. So we welcome any and everyone to be a part of that. And I'll yield to Rosa.
Anything,
Thank you.
Rosa?
Yeah. Thank you so much. Right now I'm in the dark, so President Spain, I will talk to you. I need to meet with you.
Okay.
Because I do have some questions. So.
Okay. We'll do that. Thank you. And I'll see you tomorrow, Pastor Davis. I think I'm on, right?
Yes, you are. We're looking forward to it.
Okay. We just stood up an economic development committee. Megan Brew, are you on? She's our chair.
Hi, Julius. I
There you
am
go.
on. Hello. As Julius mentioned, really excited to stand up the Economic Development Committee. I recognized a few names of folks who raised their hand to volunteer on this call. So thank you so much for those who have already offered to support that committee work. For those who have interest in economic development, broadly we'll be focused on small business ownership, access to economic opportunities equitably across the county. And so we are going to start with some exploratory conversations with stakeholders across the county in order to best inform our strategic plan. But if you're interested in that work, I am going to type my email address in the chat. If you would like to join the committee, our meetings are Sundays at the last Sunday of the month at 7:30. So again, thank you to everyone on the call who's already committed. Excited to connect with you on Sunday.
Thanks, Megan. Is Maya on, labor and industry?
Yes, I am on, I think.
Okay. Maya.
Sorry. Yes, I am on. We are just getting started with the labor and industry committee. And so if you want to join, I'm putting my email into the chat. Please email me and reach out to me. We are going to be coming up with our plans for 2021 and trying to make sure that we use this effectively, especially as COVID continues to go on. That's all I got.
Thank you, Sister Maya. I think Virginia Diamond, she may still be on the phone. I got a call, saw an email from her. I think she wants to join your committee. And if you're on the call, Virginia, thank you. Okay, Education Committee. I know we have our co-chairs here, Cherie and Simone. You had a meeting yesterday, right? I believe, but go ahead.
We did. We are getting ready. Well, you saw the school board's presentation with the disparate impact of COVID on Black and Latina students in Arlington. Again, that's just exacerbating a longstanding problem. So it's budget season, and we are getting ready to roll out our budget priorities to the school board and Superintendent Duran to ensure that instruction and curriculum is not sacrificed with the budget, and to make sure that they put adequate funding in place for interventions and evidence-based programs and to move forward with that. So we're working on that over the next week or two to prioritize that. And then we're also getting ready to roll out some information with regards to our Dyslexic Edge Academy, which is going forward to start up for the school year coming up in August or September. And so we will be pushing out some information to solicit teachers or parents, or essentially tutors who will be trained in Orton Gillingham structured literacy to tutor students from a Title I school who are economically disadvantaged, and also to get STEM enrichment as well in partnership with Virginia Tech. Free tuition and free transportation provided. So be on the lookout for that. That is moving forward. And we have a plan to bring the Push Out film to the community. Push Out is a documentary about the criminalization of Black girls in school. And so we're working to have a community event to screen that documentary this spring or this winter, like soon. So that's all. I don't know if Sharice wants to add anything.
Nothing for me. Nothing for me.
Thank you. Jacob, are you on the call? Community coordination? Okay. So we haven't established a chair yet, but you did receive in your packet today our newly formed scholarship committee, which we have Ms. Karen Nightingale, who's a executive committee at large, Adora Williams, Susan Cunningham, Leah Evans, Jill DeWitt, and our third VP, Mike Hemringer. You probably didn't know about that. Just going to be providing some oversight. And I saw your data. So, so yeah, we have kind of, we're going to revitalize that committee. They're going to be working together here, meeting in a couple weeks, establishing a chair and a co-chair, and hopefully within the next 30, 60 days, we'll have our applications out for this year. All right, more to follow. So they will have a report for us next month, hopefully. Shayla, are you on the line?
Yes. Hi, JD.
Okay.
How are you?
Yeah, you want to speak briefly? I know we didn't put anything out yet. Shayla's, go ahead. Shayla's going to be running our Black History Month program next month, but go ahead, Shayla. The floor is yours. You can talk a little bit.
Hello, everyone. Shayla Smith. I'm trying to get my video, but it's not really working.
It's okay. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. So I am the chair for this year's Black History Month committee, along with my co-chair Marvin Niels. We're pretty new, and we'll have our first initial meeting on Wednesday, just to bounce ideas off of each other, just to see what we can come up with for this year. We're thinking of just one day in February to do something, to celebrate Black history. If you guys are interested, I'll put my email in the chat, and then reach out and we can go from there. Thank you, JD.
Thank you, Shayla. And I know Nels, Ms. Evans, Pamela Pinnock, and Jill are also on that committee with you. So we look forward to a great event sometime next month. Okay. I typically don't go over. And Jamie, everyone knows that. So Jamie and Megan, Political Action Committee, it's all your fault. Like we stated, I'm going to stick around until about 8:45. There's no further business on the agenda. So now the meeting is adjourned. I will stick around.
I do have one more thing. Before people log out, if there are people who are